If you want to know, Alden's 11 months.
11
if it
months.
matters.
Well, yeah, probably.
Less than 1 year sounds funnier.
Oh, you can say less than 1 year.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Two Wheeled Rider podcast presented by JT Motorsports. I am your host, Mario Orsini, joined by my co-host,
Brian Boyer.
It looks a little different today. Anybody watching it on YouTube?
It's a little smaller, a little cozy.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. Hopefully the sound quality is good for those folks listening on their favorite podcast platform. I will say there's a generator playing or running outside. There's a good chance that we're going to hear some kid screaming later on. Sorry about that in advance. Hopefully that doesn't pick up, but we'll explain that. Well, I guess we didn't explain it right now. It's because we're out at Boyer Farm Track because it's Memorial Day weekend, and we like to ride, even though I've basically done zero riding. The kids have been riding, so, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, watching them ride, it's been a blast.
And West Virginia is kind of open back up now for the most part.
Yeah, it seems, I live in Maryland, coming out here.
Sucks.
Yeah, tell me about it. But, we're still kind of locked down pretty much. But, yeah, coming out here, I think the farther you get outside the city, it seems like things kind of relax a little bit and people are more closer to back to normal in a way.
So we've got our little shanty town set up out here. We've got all the campers set up. We've got all the it's not like there's a ton of people out here. I think there's only 21 children at last count. We might have lost one. Yeah. We've been out here a couple of nights. But no, we've been out here riding this weekend. Speaking of J2 Motorsports, our title sponsor, was it last week? You dropped off some forks to my house, week before, something like that. I rebuilt the forks on Luke's KX85. We had the wrong springs to begin with, but eventually we got the right ones in there. We got a lowering link on for him because he's what is he, like 3'5" or something?
Yeah, he hasn't grown since the past 6 years. But
and then we got the shock resprung for him on the rear. It seems to be a little bit better. I think we got a little more tuning left to do on it. Maybe get rid of the lowering link, but
hey, he's starting it better by himself and needing less assistance, so that's a win.
That is true. He actually can put a foot down now, which is kind of impressive. And, like we always say, and we'll play the ad later, like we get our stuff from JT Motorsports. That's where that stuff came from. So we'll talk about how you can support them and how they'll also save you a little bit of money. So hope everyone, depending on where you're at in the country, if you're still on lockdown because you live in places like Maryland, or if you're in other parts of the world that are even further locked down, hopefully they will let you out soon. Speaking of, kind of getting out, I went out earlier today to see the SXCS track. We're racing next weekend in Burlington, West Virginia. That's shaping up to be pretty nice. I know you didn't get a chance to go out. Megan, who we'll talk about here in a second, Andrew was out there. Her husband was out there hammering stakes and stuff. Billy was out there mowing everything down. Couple of creek crossings. I think it's going to be a really good event. Hopefully there's a good turnout. I know also going on that weekend is a GNCC event, but a little bit further away down in South Carolina. So if you're looking to get out of the house, we're putting this up on a Wednesday. The race is on Saturday. I'll do my best to link the website if you have the opportunity to sign up and go out and race. But should be a fun weekend. Speaking of fun weekends, we are, what is this, night 2? You and I have been out here. Some of the folks have been out here for 3 nights. We are continuing our fun weekend, and as always, because it is a two-wheeled rider podcast, we have to start out with a whiskey pour. Nothing fancy, because we're out at the track, but we went with a good old standby Jack Daniels tonight. So, Megan, you've got a cup over there too. Toast across the board.
Cheers.
All right. So there are a bunch of different ways to support the podcast. The main way is just listen to the podcast and share it with other folks. But there are some people that support it monetarily. We want to give them a quick shout out. And if you want to learn how you can contribute too, we'll play an ad later on. But again, if you just want to listen to it and share it with people, that's cool too. So Luke Harding is on at the contributor level. He loves to point out that he's the first, even though I mention that every episode anyway. It's not big news. We also have Dylan coming to us on Patreon, Alexander Marsh on Patreon. At the production crew level, we have Amanda Knapp. Her handle on social media is She Shall Ride. We have SRT AMA East Harescrambles presented by Beta. This is kind of what we were hoping to do with Kenny and Nash at some point, was, hop in a camper and do this live, somewhat live, out at an event. That's still going to happen. It's just going to be a little bit later in the season.
Well, they're starting back up. They're going to co-host with the GNCC for the next one. So, yeah, racing's coming back. So I think it'll be sooner than later that we'll get them on.
When do you think it's going to be in PA and New Jersey?
Yeah, probably not there for a while.
but we'll meet up with those guys at some point. We also have Morgan Graves on Patreon on at the production crew level. The executive producer level, we have Jeff Hokinson. And we have a new member at the executive producer level that just came on this week, Jordan Roberts, also known as Dad Mode on YouTube. He just bought one of those new 790 rallies.
Yeah, it's been fun kind of watching some of his videos and seeing the bike. I think he was out a couple weeks back when we were at a place riding. It was kind of cool to see it up close and kind of see how that bike will fare in the market and kind of find that niche in between.
No, it was really cool, and he pointed out a couple of weaknesses on it. He may go on over it in some videos. I mean, it's nothing major. There's a couple minor complaints when you're paying that type of money for a top-end bike, but also simple things to upgrade. And who knows? He's probably going to pop up in a two-wheeled rider video and vice versa at some point. He DM'd me the other day and asked if I wanted to ride. Unfortunately, I had a bunch of meetings scheduled, so it wasn't going to happen. But if we can get the schedules lined up, that'd be kind of cool. So, all right, guys, that is how you can, or those are the folks that are supporting the podcast. That's our intro. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will introduce you to our guest this evening.
When Brian and I need something for our bikes, we head to JT Motorsports in Frederick, Maryland. JT's recently moved into a brand new, huge facility, conveniently located just minutes off of I-270 and I-70. Their massive showroom floor holds brand new models from Polaris, Can-Am, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Husqvarna, KTM, and now specialized e-bikes. If you haven't tried an e-bike, you have to. Those things are so much fun to ride. And for the wee little riders, check out their line of Stasic Kids bikes, which are the perfect way to get youngsters involved in riding. Their showroom floor also features a huge selection of riding gear, accessories, and other essentials to keep your machines running good and looking good. They carry some of the top brands in riding gear, including Arai and Climb. Need parts for your bike? They keep a ton of parts in stock and ship daily. Heck, you even have the option to call, email, or text your parts orders in. If you don't like working on your own bike, that's okay, because they have a full service department that will work on any make or model. Just mention the Two Wheeled Rider podcast when you call, email, text, or stop in the shop, and you'll immediately get a 10% discount on parts and accessories. Visit jtmotorsports.net or call 301-846-4318. And if you didn't write that down, don't worry. You can find it in the podcast show notes or YouTube video description along with their address. All right, let's get back to the show. All right, guys, welcome back. And next, we would like to welcome the mother of 4 current racers, winning a combined total of 20-plus championships, winner of ECEA Pit Parent of the Year Award, wife of previous podcast guest Andrew Tsakanikas, who is also the ECEA Youth Coordinator and helps with the SXCS series. Her wish for her 12th wedding anniversary was to spend the weekend at the farm and be on the podcast, and Brian and I wanted to make that wish come true. So please welcome Megan Tsakanikas and wish her a happy birthday and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Anniversary. Right.
Yeah, happy anniversary. All right, so just to run down through the children, because they're going to be mentioned throughout, just so everybody recognizes the names and kind of where they fall. We've got Austin, who's 12 years old, Mason, who's 10 years old, Aubrey, who's 7 years old. Seriously, guys, you need to write this stuff down because it's a lot to remember. You have Maura, who you may also hear referred to as Mo or Momo, who's 5 years old. You also have Alden, who you may hear referred to as Cheeto, and I have his less
Poor
than
baby.
one. Yeah, I have less than 1 year old, but it's been clarified tomorrow he'll be 11 months old. So that's just for clarification purpose. Did we miss any children? That is a lot.
I mean, if you want to include the dog, I mean, she's in there too.
Good point. So yeah, Andrew was kidding earlier when we were out when he was out hammering stakes. We were out checking out the track. Like, how many people are out there? And I was like, we counted 21 children. And he was like, I think I make up a third of those. I was like, that sounds about right. So, all right. So, Megan, first thing we want to toss out to you, obviously before the children came along. Andrew was racing during that time frame when you guys met.
He was. I think that he started at 7. So we started dating. I was 17 and he was 21.
So what was that like? Were you into motorcycles before then, or you just met?
I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. I met this guy. I saw that he had toys, jet skis. We were friends with friends. And then he said that he raced. And I still had no idea what it was about until I went one day and I was hooked. It's an awesome sport. It's fun. You hold your breath the entire time, but it's awesome. The strengths that you build within it, yeah.
All right, cool.
And he was in motocross, right?
He was in
the first thing you
motocross,
did.
yeah.
Do you remember kind of the first couple races where they were at?
I do. I want to say the first one that I ever went to was at Budds Creek.
Okay.
So it wasn't too far away.
And now the kids are racing there.
Yeah, they've been there quite a few times.
So how many races would you guess you went to with just Andrew?
Oh, man.
Was it an every weekend type of thing then? Was he?
They would find somewhere to go. It was,
weekend.
I remember being young and, of course, wanting to party and him having to go to bed on Saturday night and me being like, what is up with this guy? But so I didn't go to all of them. Definitely more than I didn't, though.
And kind of how long was it before you just got to be like tagging along
Right.
before he started handing you a wrench?
It
was
wasn't long.
All right.
It wasn't long at all.
So obviously you got to hang out with him while he was going through that whole thing. In any way, did that prepare you for the kids racing?
No, I don't think that there's anything that can really prepare you for your own child to, just be sent on their way and praying that they're fine.
Yeah, and I think that's what's pretty impressive and wild at the same time with, the kids start racing at 4 and
At 4. That's small.
And they're starting in Harescrambles. It's a little different than motocross in the sense that the tracks are like 2 miles.
Miles long.
And you're just sending a 4-year-old out into the woods going, I hope they come back
I hope
around.
that they come back. Yeah.
It's a little bit different than
I
motocross
think that
track.
it's good though to know that there's a bunch of trail riders that tag behind, especially the small ones, and are always there to help them. And
in
gives
addition
a
to just
little bit
the
of comfort.
sweep riders, you get the other parents
Yeah.
out there that
exactly. There's somebody always there to lend a hand.
Brian, I know you want to ask this next question.
Yeah, so I still have the picture in my head of little Mason standing next to Austin. My eyes tearing up, not even my own kid, but I've been around the kids since they were born, and his first race got to be here at Boyer Farm Track, which, like I said, special moment. But what was that like from a mom? That's your first kid. You obviously were around Andrew's racing, but I imagine totally different. First race, your
For
kid,
sure.
you're standing
For sure.
there. What were the emotions?
Well, if you thought I was nervous right now. It's funny that you even are mentioning that. It just popped up on my Facebook feed for memories that it just happened maybe a week or 2 ago was the first race. So he wasn't even 5 yet. And if there was anywhere that I was happy that it was here. And knowing that all of our friends were in every single corner of the track, it definitely put ease on it. But I don't think that I breathed that entire time. So to know that he actually finished the entire race, it was an amazing feeling.
One more lap. I think we started that.
We said that every single lap. Poor kid.
Yeah, he kept going.
I think that we still use that on him.
Yeah, well, now he's passing me here, so.
Dude, I didn't even go out today. It's not even fair. Maybe if I put him on a 110, I'd have a chance. So, fast forward, what was it? Was it 2 years later Mason started racing because he's 2 years younger, or did he wait a little bit longer?
He has a later birthday, so I think he was closer to because I just had his first that just passed recently too. He was definitely different. He got on a bike a lot sooner. He was only 27 months, and he got on a bike, and he ended up whiskey throttling it and sailing it into his parents' shed, and that scared him. It deterred him for a really long time. So his first race, he wanted to do it. But then if anybody knows Mason, they know how stubborn that he is, and he has to come around each and every time and say, what's wrong here and what's wrong there. So I ended up having to hide from him numerous occasions. Any parent that was there, I had to stand behind them just so that the kid didn't see me and he would carry on. So the difference is...
Yeah, and I have a funny story. I think it was at VFTR, Mason's first or second year. I would imagine it's first. He's racing. I see him out there. He's killing it. Next thing I know, he's off the side of the track. He's eating like a cheeseburger or something, fully off his bike. And then I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't want to do it. And then I'm go back out on the course. And next thing I know, Mason's coming by on his bike again. I'm like, well, I guess that cheeseburger helped him out. But the first year is... Like you said, if you know Mason, it's, whatever is in his head, that's what he's going to do.
That's what he's going to do.
Did you feel a little bit more comfortable him going out on his first race versus Austin?
I did. With Austin, I tell you what, between Andrew and I, we ran the entire course. He would take the first part of the course. I would take the second part of the course. And if you guys know these courses, it's not easy to run the course. So for him, I mean, like I said, like we literally had to hide from him. It was... So goodbye.
And I've watched all the parents do that first year, and one thing I've learned is the first year, whenever Case is ready at 4, I'm going to be training harder than him.
Yeah,
because I got to run the course.
Dave's going to have to do that with Louis too, because I watched him chase Landon around that whole first year. And
well, he carries like a 100-pound
backpack,
yeah. So he needs to train even harder. There's probably a few beers in that backpack too.
Oh, I would imagine that backpack gets lighter as the race goes on. So, all right. So you've got the two boys out racing at this point, and then I guess we're going. We've got a few year gap before Aubrey decides to race, which I'm guessing she's seen
Mason and Aubrey are 3.5 years apart.
Yeah, so she's seen the brothers racing, and now it's like I want to do it.
She did. She asked for it.
Was there any difference between, or were you kind of like back to you were with Austin, where it's almost like your first one going out again?
I think that it was. I remember having tears in my eyes and feeling so choked up when she was on that starting line. There is nothing that can compare you to them taking off on that starting line. And that's like the first wave that you're sitting there just holding your breath, hoping that that's even okay. And for her to finish the race, I was in awe of her, and I want to be her. I want to be her. It's impressive.
Yeah, she's cool. That's what is gonna be next when Aubrey passes me. It's not if, it's when. She rolls.
She stopped by talking
she
trash
has that
to me
fire
earlier.
in her eyes when she wants it.
Yep. Now, was it ever with her rate? Was it just I know all my kids are gonna ride, or was it like, well, I hope?
I actually tried
ride.
to convince her otherwise. I have put them in dance class. I take them every Tuesday to dance. I put them in all the tutus and costumes, and nope,
And does she like that at all? And is it like, yeah, Mom, this is cool, but on Saturday
I thought
want
that
to go
she
race?
did, and this year is when she said that's not what I'm into. I don't want to do this anymore. So.
Yeah. Well, she's at that age now. You really know what she wants
when they can make their decisions.
Yep.
And
well, at least you tried. Right?
I tried.
So, Brian and I were talking about this earlier because, just in fairness to all the audience, we don't just come on here and like shoot from the hip. We try to come up with some good questions that we think you guys are going to be entertained by. What? Andrew obviously works on the bikes. Andrew's the former rider, or I don't want to say former rider. He still rides. He just raced GNCC last weekend. But he's not concentrating on himself so much now. He's concentrating on the kids. What are some things you have done that may surprise people listening to help the kids race-wise? Or riding-wise, those sorts of things?
I think that it's me that makes sure that the kids get at least a day in a week, like any practice, whether, it's at a track across the street, whether it's at a friend's house, whether it's anywhere. I mean, to have that seat time at least 1 hour per week, especially before a race, it's really important. And I mean, Andrew can't always do it. So I try to push that as much as I can so that they're ready and mentally prepared.
And I think, it's pretty impressive, from what I've seen, because loading up those amount of bikes, and I've seen them in the back of trucks, I've seen her haul the trailer over, it really takes dedication to kind of get all the bikes over there and make sure that they get their practice in.
Well, you get the bikes, you got all the riding gear that you got to make sure. I mean, Noah showed up at a race. Well, we only had one race this season, but he showed up at the only race this season without his chest protector because I thought he'd gotten to the point he could pack his own gear bag. I was mistaken. But, so do you find you have to force them to listen? I get that the farm's different. We come out here and what did they stop riding like 20 minutes ago? Like it wasn't that long ago because they're all out here together. Do you find you have to push them sometimes to say, no, you've got to get your butts out on your bikes and go ride? Or are they asking to go ride and it's just take us somewhere?
Right. Not once. Not once have I ever had to beg them to, ask them to. They are asking me each and every day because it's what they want to do. It's never anything that Andrew and I have ever pushed. It's always been their will and what they ask for. So
I'm going to go off script for just a second because we don't have this question on here, but just out of my own curiosity, Austin, first bike, was it a dad, I want a bike, or because I realized like once the other siblings see it, they kind of want to follow suit.
Yeah.
How did Austin come about riding to begin with? Or did Brian show up on a bike one day and say, here?
From day one, I mean, if you guys have seen Alden, Austin was exactly like Alden is right now.
Alden knows one word right now.
Brap.
Brap. That's it. And he's very good at it.
He's very good.
Oh, and his smile is so huge. Like Austin takes him around now on the 110, and we were kind of just doing the D loop all together. I had Colt on the front, and his smile you could just see the whole time.
Lights
he just
up
loved
his entire face. Yeah. So if you guys see Alden, then you can imagine what Austin was like. They resemble each other. They're the exact same child when it comes to that. So Austin, from the moment that he came into this world, I mean, that's what he wanted. So I dear God, I want to say his first word was bikey. That's all that he ever said. And so from there, I mean, they didn't have Striders and stuff like that then. So for his third birthday, he got an O set. And then we moved on to the PW and then the KTM. He got here at Boyer Farm for his 5th birthday.
That's cool. No, Austin spent time on the front of my bike. I remember watching him chase Andrew down, saying, he wanted to be on the front of the bike. So yeah, it was in the blood. So I think, the next question is, kind of around what some of those long weekends are like. I know you guys just got back. You all went down in the RV in a vehicle to the
Did you guys take the
GNCC in
RV?
Georgia.
We did.
Okay.
We pulled it all the way.
So what's that kind of like? I mean, obviously, it's got to be crunched in the truck. It's a long drive. It's the RV. Then you're getting to the race. So what are kind of some of those long road trips like? And then race weekends, watching the kids race. Getting there's half the battle.
Well, thankfully for us, we have some, silly friends that want to follow us places to take, a kid here and a kid there because we kind of maxed out on vehicle space. Hopefully that will be fixed one day, but it's to make sure, especially going a 10-hour drive, to make sure that we have everything and praying that the bikes are going to make it and that they'll even start once they get there and make the drive worth it. It's definitely, I'd like to say a lot of planning, but it's not because my husband likes to throw it on me. Out on Wednesday, we're leaving on Friday or, so I feel like we've been doing it so long that it's kind of just, secondary that's just what we do. So there's really no thinking about it. It's
I
having weekends at home. That's
stuff done.
Like,
that's the battle, right?
What are we going to do now?
No, we went down, what was it, last year we went down to the Camp Coker event, and
that's
you guys...
this coming weekend.
I know.
That's the one the kids want to go back to.
That one was a fun event. But we went down there, like, Andrew made fun of me for my tiny little camper, but it was easy to pull down there. And then I actually offered up, because how far along pregnant were you with Alden at that point?
That was, I delivered him 3 months later.
Yeah, so Andrew brings down an enclosed trailer. He literally had bikes on top of bikes in the back of the truck too, in the bed of it. And I was like, okay, I got my air conditioned trailer. And I was like, Andrew's making Megan sleep on a cot tonight. And I walked out. I was like,
6 months.
You can sleep in here if you want. I'll sleep in. She was like, oh, I'm fine. And I mean, the weather was nice, but that was
But I think that's a cool story, right? That's the dedication it takes, and I think too the closeness that the sport brings
For
with
sure.
your family.
A lot of family time, which is more than you could ask for.
So we've got some kids close in age in your family, and we're starting to run on similar CC bikes. What's it like dealing with the competitiveness of your own children?
If I don't hear on a daily basis that this kid is either coming for this kid, or this kid beat this kid, or this kid can do laps around this kid, it's, trying to get them to be each other's teammates is what I've been trying for. And some days that works and some days it doesn't. But I think that ultimately them pushing each other it's actually a good thing for them to always want to better themselves some way or another. So it kind of works. It kind of works.
Yeah, they're smack talking, but at the same time, they're trying to pump up the other sibling to say, I know you can do better.
Right, exactly.
Well, no, you're watching them out there running motos, the last couple of days, and it's, oh, wow, he was only 2 seconds off me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I need to go faster. And then it's, okay, well, he stepped up his game. Now I need to step up my game a little bit. And
that's what we've always said when the kids are always so worried about somebody else beating them. We're like, you know what? The best that you can be is better than your own self. So whether you did this, it's, trying to figure out a way how you can continue to beat that lap and just push from there.
Yeah, you're going to show up some days. You're not going to be the best person there, but if you can be better than you were last time you showed up, then
exactly.
Then you've done
You're
something
only better
good.
than your last race,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's what I tell Noah all the time. I was like, I don't care you finished third 3 weeks ago. What did you do yesterday? All right, so we're going to take a break here in a moment, but we have one last question for you before we take the break. How old was Cheeto when he showed up to his first race?
He was born June 25th, and I had him at a race, I think, by week 3.
And that's why his
it
first
was
word
a
is
Pennsylvania race.
And I think is just as impressive. How when were you at a race before he was born?
Right before it, 2 days before it, at the GNCC at Snowshoe.
Yeah, it wasn't like something right around.
We got home on Sunday, and we had him. Well, we went to the hospital Monday, but had him Tuesday.
So he didn't have much
early morning.
He had no break in between. He popped out and was ready to go to the track. He was at the track, popped out, and ready to go.
What I
back.
think was funny is I'd said something to Andrew about that before. I don't know if it was on the group text or whatever. It was like, hey, if you need some help, but no, Megan will be there. And I was like, okay. And then same thing about another GNCC race. I was like, and I don't know if you guys had named it. I was like, the baby's only going to be like such and such week old. He's like, oh, he'll be there.
He'll be there.
All right, cool. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back in just a moment or two. So we'll talk to you in just a minute. All right. So that was our commercial for the podcast, which seems to be working still, which is cool. And in all seriousness, we do appreciate the support, and it allows us to do more and more things with the podcast. So thank you guys very much. But we're back from the break, and we're going to get back into our interview with Megan, and I'm going to kick it over to Brian to get on with the rest of the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the next question for me, a personal curiosity, is kind of what the most memorable moment for maybe each kid. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a race. Maybe it's just a specific moment at the practice track, but
or even your kid. You can just any kid, because there's so many to remember.
Right. It's kind of a tough one, and it may sound so cliche to say, but I feel like there is as a parent, to know that your kid has worked so hard to get where they want to be, and watch them get their first place at a win, and the joy and excitement that's on their faces. It's worth, all the long hours, all the hard work that they've done. It's just a good overall feeling. But other than that, watching the boys try to really teach their sisters as a parent, it's awesome. It's awesome to watch the backbone that you put in them surface off to their siblings, and them actually want to help them and want to get them better and see them succeed too, because it's not just about them, but they really do see us as, the Tsakanikas family racing. So it's like a whole group, what can we all do? So
and I think you talked about the hard work, but it's the hard work that you and Andrew put in the beginning
to distill that within
look at Austin. He's helping all the kids out here, but I think that
he came back today saying how many bikes that he picked up at that dang hill climb again.
Yeah.
It's his workout.
Well, he never has to pick up his own bike, so it's only fitting maybe he picks up some other bikes in case one day he has to pick up his own.
Well, it's cool because you see him encourage, like, Luke, Noah, whomever. No, go try it again. If you get stuck, I'll help you pick up your bike.
That's, we don't like the quit word. If you really say that you can't do something, well, let's just try again and keep working at it instead of just completely giving up. So
yeah, it's neat though to just seeing how the kids help each other, but that within the family they're all looking up to the oldest, even when they do that smack talking.
So I think that I heard from Kyla this weekend about how much that she appreciates, even how much that Mason's tried to push Landon along and help him and make him a better rider too. So hearing those things,
I think all the kids out here this weekend,
special.
It goes for any weekend, they're all trying to help. They all want to beat each other.
I think that's the thing about this sport.
But they want to help each other out, because you want to beat someone at their best.
Right.
You don't want to beat someone when they're down or when they've had a
That's not a
mechanical
win.
issue or what. No, it's not. No. So I think that's pretty neat to see. And I'll agree with you on that first win thing. I think Noah's still only got one win at the moment, but that was
the
cool to
joy
see.
on his face,
Yeah. He's got that one number one trophy, and and finishing on the podium some weekends, and some weekends you've probably seen this before. One of the kids will go out and put in their absolute best, and they end up with a fourth.
Right.
But they rode as good as they could possibly ride.
That is our question after each race. Did you do all that you thought that you could do? And if they answer and they say yes, well, then good job. But if
well, sometimes you can go out and finish first or second, and you left something out there.
But they're competitive too. I think sometimes that's what I admire. They always, even when they do what they say is their best, they still find something that they can work on
for sure,
just with themselves. You don't even have to kind of, find that for them.
So Megan, I don't want to say all the kids, because we still have one. We know he's going to race, but we still have one that's not racing yet. Is there?
I got my tutus for him still.
Yeah, good luck.
Do you have and this not just you, but you and Andrew together, do you have an overall goal for each of the kids? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a racing goal, but what you want them to accomplish or kind of learn from racing?
I feel like there's so much that you actually learn from racing. Overall, we want them to choose what it is that they want to do. But us right now, their schoolwork comes first, and making sure that they're where they need to be with that. But when it comes to actual racing, we've never pushed anything on the kids. If you ask each of them, Austin wants to be, the next famous GNCC rider, and Mason wants to be pro motocross, and the girls, Maura says that nobody's going to beat her, so I don't know really what that means.
She might be right about that.
I can't really argue with that.
Aubrey, I'm not sure about her yet. We're trying to figure her out, but ultimately it's up to the kids and whatever they want to do. We've never pushed them one way or another. Half the time I feel like Andrew wishes that they didn't race because it's so much work on him.
Yeah.
Getting the 19
I have no
bikes
clue
done.
How he does it. Yeah.
And having a full-time job, so.
Well, no, I asked that because we had Jake and Luke Ross on last podcast, and those guys are obviously fast in their own right, and Luke's
was
been
up
over.
here yesterday.
Yeah, he again, because we talked about this on the podcast about how great him and Jake are with the. Mm-hmm. He's like the Pied Piper. The kids follow him, and he was offering them a lot of help, and choosing out different lines and all those sorts of things. But we asked those two, what they want to do. And it was one of those, we want to continue to race, but we don't really want to do this as professionals. Mm-hmm. We want to continue our education. We want to get, good careers. well, we still want to race too. So, and that's why I threw that out there. I mean, those
If
guys.
you ask the boys right now, I mean, that's what they would love to be. I mean, Austin, I think that Caleb Russell, he is sitting there watching him and his lines, and I think that's why he loves the GNCCs the most, because that's where you see, you know, the best of the best there, and the ones that are like pushing for, you know, that's their careers, and that's not really Mason's thing. Mason would love to.
Mason wants under the big lights.
He does. He does.
Moto bro.
He'd be good on the microphone too.
He's
I
always
feel
been a
like.
moto bro. Oh, but you'd never know what you'd get out of that kid. It's kind of scary.
That'll be a good one though.
That definitely would be. So in watching, and I know Mo's got the least amount of race time at this point because she's the youngest. Have you noticed any strength that any of the, and when I say any of the four, like each of the four of them, do they have a strength that you notice is not necessarily better than the other ones, but there's one thing that sticks out on each of them?
Andrew and I, talking about Mo, Andrew and I, we talk about her all the time, and going back to look at the other kids, I really think that she might be better than even the boys were at her age. I mean, she is a go-getter. She is.
There seems to be
she
no
has
fear.
determination, no fear. She wants to do and be in anything that anybody else is doing. She thinks that she's right there with them.
And it's not even just the determination; it's the raw speed. Her corner speed, like
On
I'm
the
like
pegs.
over there taking notes, like
on the pegs.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, Austin, I would say he's definitely more mental, which is a good and bad thing. He's the one that has to walk the course, and if there is a route in the track, he knows exactly where that route is when he's coming around for that first lap. So he analyzes, and he needs all the data to be able to go out, and that really messes him up if he can't walk the track before the race. I mean,
but if he's got that data, it makes him stronger.
Definitely. Where Mason, he's like, I'm not walking the course. What do I need to do that for? And
Just hammer down.
he just wants to go out and do his thing. And Aubrey, that poor girl. She loves it. And I think that's what it is. I think that she just loves to ride. I'm not so sure about racing yet. So we'll see what this year continues to do. Finishing up
She's
with the
shown
GNCC.
flashes that she can be really good.
So that's if you watch her when she's out practicing. I mean, she's amazing, and then you think that she's going to take that to a race, and you're kind of like, oh, what happened? But I mean, she got off the course last weekend, and you know, Andrew and I, we were kind of like, you know, what was up? And she was like, well, I tried my best and I finished the race, so you should be happy with that. And I was like, you know what?
she said all the right words. Yeah.
You're right.
Well,
You're right.
and I saw her out there earlier, and I was just giving her crap, and I was like, "What was up with that 15th place?" She's like, "I rode as good as I can ride."
Right, exactly.
And I was like, "All right,
Exactly.
well, if
That's
that's
it.
the case, I'm good with that."
But I think that's the biggest frustration I have as a parent. It's not what place they got; it's when you see their potential in
When
practice.
you know what they're capable
And
of
then-
doing, and they don't perform to that, it tears you apart inside.
I
And it's
know.
like, how do you go about that? Do you be hard on them, or do you just let them do their thing? But I mean, do they learn from that? Do they push from that? I don't.
And I'm sure it's a little different probably for each kid. You got to
You
approach
have
it a little
to-
different.
Exactly. For sure.
no, and I'm with Brian on that because I've said nothing to Noah about his riding this weekend, despite the fact that I think
And he's riding really good.
Yeah, every
He looks
adult
good.
out here said something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not saying anything to him.
Yeah.
I need that kid to show up to the track next weekend. If he does, I still expect Mason to beat him. But if he could just like stay on the same lap and finish second, and just ride as good as he can ride,
Hear
like
that, Luke?
is Luke riding the 85 or 65?
I'll probably be on the 65.
Okay.
I don't feel like having to. I'm a sweep rider. I don't have to pick them up.
But it's like you see what they can do in practice sometimes, and they show up at the track. And
It's
you're like, What is
frustrating.
this? And it's not that. I mean, listen,
I
if
don't
they
know
just
if
go
it's
out
the
and get
competition
outclassed.
that gets in
that's-
their heads.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll never know. I mean, I get nervous enough just, you know, being out on the course, so I can't even imagine, you know, bikes flying around you.
Well, I think each race is a little different and feeling comfortable. I think one thing, the kids come up here a lot, so I think they have a different kind of comfort level at a track that they've been to a lot. And
For
then
sure.
maybe sometimes, one thing I've
It's a
noticed with
blessing
Luke,
and a curse.
it's mental a lot. Like they go to a track and for whatever reason there's something in their head that day, they're a total different person,
And the
even though
track-
the skills are there.
The track could be easier than what they're riding out here, but it's I'm comfortable
Right.
here.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna
That's,
tell
I mean,
them-
that's what I was meaning. It's a blessing and a curse for them to come to some place that they're comfortable because they can just sail through it,
Well-
and they feel comfortable here. Where
And it's weird. Like I'll take Noah out to the Ross compound. There's some gnarly stuff out there. Stuff you'll never see on.
I told Luke we still haven't been invited, so
Luke Ross, you better get on that.
I might be able to take care of that for you guys. But there is some gnarly stuff out there. And Noah got and ride that. It's nothing. And then he
No big
gets
deal.
on something else, and you're like,
Why
but
are you
that,
stuck on
But
that?
that was easy. So, but it was just So
Having
we're
an
going to tell
off
them all
day.
next weekend. Burlington, West Virginia, exactly the same as Boyer Farm. Just
there
go out
we
and ride
go.
it like it's that. So
Well, it's not that far, like 19 miles from here. So
yeah, it's close. So all right, Brian, I lost track of where we're at. So do you have the next question?
yeah, I think we touched on this a little bit, but maybe just kind of go a little bit more in depth because it's the same kind of question I asked for Andrew. I struggle.
Brian struggles with a lot of stuff when it comes to bike maintenance.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
That's why he just sends his stuff over to me. He's like, Mario, just make a video about it so I can reference it.
I'm very thankful for my Tsakanikas and Two Wheeled Rider sponsorships. They've saved me a lot. But no, seriously, getting all those bikes together, that Andrew, spends a lot of time, that's only a small piece of it. It really takes a team effort. And I've always admired how you guys come together. So talk a little bit about your role. Like how does Andrew even have that time in the garage to get to those bikes? And then what parts do you kind of do to get out the door and get to the racetrack?
I'm usually the one that goes to JT and picks up all the parts so that they're there, or, going to Advance and picking up the oil and having everything there and set up and, ready for him just to work on it. But I mean, Andrew's actually kind of lucky these days because and I've always told him from the beginning that instead of, shooing the kids out of the garage, that he needs to be their teacher and, teaching them how
for
to
sure.
do things too. So, I mean, Austin now, he comes in and he changes all the oil on
wow.
all the different bikes so that part's done
That's a
with
huge
it.
time
And
savings there.
he washes all the oil filters and, does it all. He can, do all the chains and make sure that they're at the,
Well, that's
Right.
the right
Tension.
setting for
Yeah.
that. And
Well, that's another just showing how bad they
The
want to
teaching.
ride too, because
making sure that
if
they
a
have
kid's out
it
there
set
doing
up.
that, if you don't want to ride, like
So
You're not going to take the time to learn.
is Austin drinking Molson Ice like Andrew used to off Papa Sack?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
all right,
Not
just,
yet.
just checking.
that's why he's so fast.
I thought that might be part of it. Megan, and I get, because we've been to God knows how many tracks at this point. Do you have a track or I'll just say event that kind of stands out? That's kind of like a fun one. I'm not saying you don't enjoy going to all the
Right.
races, but is there one that kind of stands out? Like that's one you look forward to going to annually?
I mean, Boyer Farm will always be our home track.
Obviously.
Where I mean, we have talked day in and day out about how this place has probably given our kids the speed that they have. This is where they have the most fun, where they are willing to push each other. But other than that, I mean, I think that the rocket race would probably be, I mean, you can see so much of the race, and whether it's pieces of the woods or pieces of the motocross.
When you can take like a few steps across and you can see part of the moto
all
track,
different
woods
parts of
track,
it.
all that
So
stuff.
I would probably, I mean, the kids really enjoy that track, and you can see in that track. So that would probably be and of course it's only, an hour and 45 minutes from us.
one of
So
the
that
closest,
helps a little
yeah.
bit too.
Yeah, but
So
I don't know what it is. That's Luke's. I think he probably likes that
that's,
even more
I
than
think
the
that
farm.
all
He
kids,
loves
Noah's favorite.
all kids love that
Yeah.
track. So it's,
It
I
was
really
for sale
hope
at
that
one
the
point.
new,
You guys want to throw in on it?
I think that somebody's leasing it out now.
Yeah, it's got
Somebody's
a
there.
new name.
I know, I can't think of the name. I was just told it.
But I'm glad
today.
to see it's still around because I hope the ECEA will go back
Somebody
there.
will be able to pick it up too.
I would throw in, just even though I tapped out after a lap, that Camp Coker race. Okay, the race itself, I care less, but the event I thought was pretty cool.
Yes, that's all the GNCCs. They're all the same way. I mean, that's what makes, too, besides watching the kids. I mean, they focus on an audience base where there's always something to do, whether it's like an e-bike race or, all the quads race on Saturday, and then the little micro bikes on Saturday as well, and then all the bikes on Sunday. So it's like an all weekend, event. That's
Well, it's kind of cool to see the factory rigs there, and then all the vendors.
The kids get really excited about it, and I mean they're usually really good. So the kids there too, willing to give the good deals, and all the pros are willing to sign autographs, and so the kids really get a good kick out of that.
Speaking of Luke Ross, I don't want to mention the name of the website he was supporting at some point, but there was a blog that he was working for, and he hit me up, and he was like, "Hey, will you go over and get some photos of some of the pros?" So I just walked over, name dropped, and guys were like posing next to their bikes and
they're
stuff.
Really awesome.
Yeah,
they're really good people.
Really
personable,
fan-friendly, and family-friendly event.
For sure.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
awesome. So you did talk on the GNCC series. Are there any other kind of series that you enjoy going to?
So the ECEA will always be, our starter. That's where, I want to say that the whole East Coast, I mean, it's an amazing series for the kids to get started with. It's where, I mean, so many of the GNCC riders, that's where they've come from. All of them have gotten their speed from that series. So I will always be, grateful for that, and the races that all the different clubs there put on. I'm really hoping that the SXCS is great. I mean, the tracks that they've been laying out so far, I just hope that carries on.
I feel like the tracks they've laid out have been some of the best.
The kids really enjoy them. Yeah.
Well, that's one thing.
The old slow adults enjoy them too.
Yeah. No, it's just fun, and I think what I like about that, to me, it's just all about how much seat time can we get in a weekend, and the SXCS having kind of the ride day.
It makes it a whole family weekend event.
I like what ECEA does, where they split it up into 3 different youth classes, which I think is great because, if you're 8 years old, in theory, you
don't
could
feel
race.
as timid with all the other bikes racing behind you.
Exactly. And in theory, if you wanted to, you could race 3 different classes.
That is true. I think that the boys did that last year, didn't
they? And a lot of them would race 2 different classes. You'd race a 50 and a 65 or 65 and 85, which a lot of series don't allow.
Right.
But what I like about what Brian just said about the SXCS is, we all race on Sunday, but they do, in most cases, like some sort of ride day the day before for usually like a nominal amount of money, like $20 you can ride for
all
6
day.
hours.
Yeah.
Which is, unique. There's not a lot of that around there. But, speaking of the ECA, too, I think every kid around here had 100% gloves or 100% goggles, and you know that they got them all from the ECA. The ECA hooks up the kids
at the
with
end
stuff.
of the year, or even,
Every
after
race.
Even during the season,
each race, most of the clubs are really good to the kids.
And I think that's what's kind of funny is Luke cares more about that kind of stuff than any of the trophies he's got.
Right.
The kids are just like, and I like it as a parent because it's like one less thing I have to buy.
Chain loops,
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that one
Andrew
race.
always gets like really frustrated when the kids pick something.
Pick the wrong thing.
Oh, they pick like a candy, and I'm like, there's chain lube up there.
Right there.
I know. I don't remember what race it was. I forget what Luke picked out. It was candy or something. And Noah came back with like a T-handle wrench, and
I set him back up there.
Brian was like, "Why didn't you get tools? That's what we need." So, so obviously, I mean, this is a little bit different than a lot of sports. Like, basketball, we know we play in the wintertime. Football's in the fall. Baseball's spring and summer. Race season, I don't want to say is year-round, though it's depending
March
on the
to November.
series. Yeah. But we do have an off season, and lots of times, I mean, to be fair, there's kind of a little bit of a break in the summertime, depending on what series you're in, where we'll take a 6-week, 2-month break.
Or when your husband signs you up for every single series possible. I think last year we did like 46 races.
Megan, he first sent us his spreadsheet and then said, Megan said there's too many gaps on here and I have to fill some of them in.
That's exactly what I said.
Busted.
I got to go back and screenshot that. But what do you guys do in the off season to, one, not just keep them on the bikes, but also just keep them active?
Well, we definitely do believe in an off season for sure, and taking a little bit of time, a couple of weeks after. But then the kids love to go down south, whether it's NCMP or Battery Park or finding all the different places down south, GTR complex.
Especially in the wintertime when we can't ride up here.
And it's a lot warmer. Well, I won't say a lot warmer. It's warmer down there.
Yeah.
And so keeping them moving and This past year, we signed the boys up for a gym series and had them doing that. And, hopefully just not staying behind video games all day, every day.
Yeah, and I think it becomes more and more of a challenge. But
In the winter, it definitely is hard, for sure.
Yeah, but you bring up kind of a great point that, a lot of people have to take note in, that the break period is just as important. I mean, look at Austin. Unfortunately, he got a break that, he was forced into with his injury, but he came back faster than ever. And maybe it was just kind of that time that, he was able to think about things and just kind of take that break and just come back and be even more into it.
There were a few weeks after he broke his arm. He was actually a little bit worried himself, thinking that, I think that when you break yourself in this sport, I think that it is a lot more mental, and it's something that you yourself have to work through. He was, scared of making the same mistakes, or, I saw just recently when a track got a little bit wet, he was scared of sliding out and doing the exact same thing that he did. But for him and himself, yes, it definitely was. This coronavirus definitely played into his hand for sure.
Yeah, he didn't miss as many races and then came back.
No, I think he didn't miss any.
Right. Yeah.
It definitely with each week that passed off. He was just checking off I missed that one too.
He showed me that wrist brace, and I saw how fast he got, and I thought maybe I need one of those too. And then I saw the thing was like $200, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
It's definitely been.
Yeah. I've tried that before.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, because, Austin and I both like ketchup sandwiches, but I don't have Austin's speed.
Yeah.
I think half of his thing's just liking that he can beat you guys, so he's just going to keep plugging along at that.
But he's so nice about it.
Yeah, I don't know. He talks a lot of smack. Well, he talks smack. To be fair, he talked smack before he could beat me.
So it's just carried on.
Yeah.
He could always beat me, so he just feels bad for me. All right, Megan. So this is if we're gonna say we have a tough question, this might be the toughest we're gonna throw out to you tonight. You obviously get to hang out with a lot of, and I'm gonna say other moms. Obviously, you talk to the men out there too. So we'll just say parents at the track. For the most part, all the kids are competing against each other. So, but Brian and we've talked about this numerous times. It is a big family out there. So what are kind of the positives and negatives or the trials and tribulations you kind of have to overcome, forming relationships out at the track, knowing my kid's going to beat your kid this weekend, or maybe vice versa, and then how you keep that relationship together?
That's actually, it really is tricky a little. We've made great friendships on the track, and it's definitely, you'll be standing next to a parent, and either your kid's behind that parent's kid or ahead of it. And you want to support the kids that are there too, because that's what it's all about. But ultimately, of course, you want your kid to, do the best that they can do. So I think that at the end of the day, it's really what it's about. It's just supporting everyone's kids and wanting the best for them all, whether it's your kid or their kid, and just cheering them on all together as a whole, as a crowd,
And I think some people handle it better than others. I've seen some parents out there get bent out of shape.
For sure.
In Brian's my case, it doesn't matter who's in front of the other one. If I'm yelling like I was today, catch him! I'm yelling at him to catch up to Luke, and then once he passes him,
that doesn't really mean that you're talking right.
No, but then I'm yelling at Luke, go catch Noah, push him and make him go fast. So
exactly.
Exactly. I'm just the crazy person that runs around the track yelling at my kids. So,
well, aren't we all really?
Yeah,
I think that I'm told that I'm like the craziest of them all. So.
We are, but you're right. There's a difference between supporting everyone and
right.
Don't get me wrong. There's some, not against the kids. There's some parents out there. I'd like to see their kid lose. But
the kids are so nice.
But it's not the kid.
Yeah.
Most
when
of the time,
they get off the track, the friendships that the kids have. It's actually an amazing thing that you can be so competitive with these kids on the course, but as soon as they come off,
as soon as the helmet comes off, everything the attitude
bicycles,
changes.
Yeah. Sharing snow cones.
Let's go hang out.
And then the other thing, you see them, it's kind of fun to see them bench race after the race. And, some of them are like 7, 8, 9 years. Hey, you remember this turn? And I did this.
Right. But they
it's
never
really,
seem to get, at each other about that. And that's the really cool thing. And if some other parents, could take a lesson on that, that would be cool too.
That's, yeah.
We have a
You
great.
shouldn't allow us out there sometimes.
Yeah.
This group's fine. But
We have a great group here. I mean, a lot of these kids are either in the same class or maybe close to it, and we're still inviting them out. And I think that's what it's all about. It's pushing the kids to get better.
And the faster ones are still helping out the slower ones, and the slower ones, I mean, when they see something the faster, is still calling that out. And they're all trying. If the guy that's better than you gets faster, that means that's somebody I got to chase, and it's going to make me better. If you're the top guy, every time we show up, the closer I can get to you, the more people I'm going to beat when we show up, and vice versa.
For sure.
And also, you may be the top guy, and you're like, I want to make this other guy a little, because he's not quite as fast as me, but I'm going to put him in between me and somebody else, and that's going to help me out. So,
and
point-wise, yeah.
Yep.
And what other sport do you have? I mean, I don't know where basketball players are going over to their number one competitor and kind of hanging out. And in this sport, we're all out here helping each other out.
You and I used to play that, and my competitors, I hate those guys. Yeah, I don't want to hang out with them.
They were not friends at all.
That wasn't, like the NBA is now. They're all calling each other. No, no, I'm not talking to you in the off season. I don't like you. So, you kind of touched on this a little bit, though maybe half jokingly, maybe not. If your kids weren't into motorcycle racing, I know this is sacrilegious to say.
Don't let Papa Sack hear that.
Is there something else that you'd like to see them involved in? And if there isn't, is there a distant second interest that maybe a few of them have kind of expressed?
And I've seen Andrew shoot a basketball, so I know that's probably out.
I've never
The
seen
ball
that.
sports are not
It's
good.
like me riding a dirt bike.
I've seen some of them throw a football over this weekend. That wasn't so hot.
I don't know, because I think that I get the question, aren't you scared all the time about the kids racing? And but then you sit there, and I mean, football gets more concussions than I know any dirt bike rider to ever get. I mean, we are fully geared up and protected, and so no. I mean, Mason's thrown around that he wants to play football, and he likes to play with it with his classmates. So we've talked about him trying it out this season just to see if it's something. Because again, we don't want to stop the kids from doing anything that they choose to want to do.
I think also if they want to stick with dirt bike riding, there's nothing wrong with taking on a fall or winter sport or something just to keep you in shape.
Yeah, exactly, to keep moving.
Yeah, just keep. But you made a good point about the concussions, and I don't know how scientific it was, but I think Travis released a post or something talking
Pastrana?
about. Yeah.
Okay.
That guy.
Yeah, just
the concussion of all concussions.
So, but he actually doesn't have. He was talking about how it's worse in other sports because a lot of times when you get concussions in dirt bikes, you're hurting other things, like maybe you're breaking an arm or something. So you're taking a bunch of time off to let everything else heal. Where in football, you may get a concussion,
You're right back
and you're
on
back
it.
out there the next play,
getting another concussion.
Right.
Well, and I also feel like you taking concussion in dirt bikes, like you hit hard, you're probably not getting back up right away.
Yeah.
But what you just said's right. I might, in football, I might get hit hard, and not really, I got my bell rung, and you're right back out for the next play, and you're taking repeated impact throughout the rest of the game. Where we wouldn't do that out on a dirt bike.
No.
So, all right, Brian.
So, I love the graphics that the kids are running this year, and I know Andrew hasn't been the most post.
He's not the most social media.
He's not. But I think this year he kind of recognized that that's kind of can help out the kids and kind of growing that presence. So maybe kind of talk about the Sack Family Racing social media. What do you guys plan to do with that? Is there any kind of end goal?
I think right now the kids themselves, the boys, I think that they see how expensive that the sport is, and they themselves are trying to help out the most that they can. I mean, the sponsorships that they've gotten this year, whether it be Moose or FMF or Bell or dear God, the list goes on.
You need
and
the
on
pit
and
board
on.
right now with all of them written on there.
But they also like what they like. So I think it was interesting
For
to see
sure
what they're
that
running this year. It's the stuff that I know that they really like.
Exactly. They reached out themselves. They wrote up all of their applications online for them, and they eagerly waited for each and every one of them. So it's, kind of taking all of that and letting their sponsors see what they're doing, and, hoping that at some point, because it is, again, a really expensive sport, that getting any help that we can get, and, letting the public see exactly what we see. I mean, it's an amazing. I had somebody ask me, don't you get tired of watching the kids do the same thing over and over? I will never.
No, and I don't think it's the same thing.
It is, you hold your breath each and every time, and the boys always sit there and tell me, well, how can you tell me this when you're not racing? I've been watching it for 17 years. So if I say that your corner speed sucks, your corner speed sucks.
Yeah.
There's different.
Yeah, listen to Mama. She's been there since the beginning with Andrew.
That, that they get frustrated thinking that I don't know what I'm talking about. And so, but
I posted a story to my Instagram earlier, like just one of the clips. I think it was 6 seconds. It's like Noah followed by Mason on Carter's bike, followed by Carter on Mason's bike. And I haven't checked my phone recently. Within 10 minutes of putting that up, I got 6 DMs from people going, holy crap, are they hauling, ass on there? Like,
no, I will never, ever, ever get bored of watching them do it. Not ever. It's whenever they go out even to practice or do anything. I mean, I want to be right there. I feel like I'm missing something when I'm not there.
You brought up another great point, though, because I know you didn't grow up racing dirt bikes or anything, but you've been, as you mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, to so many of Andrew's races in the beginning, and maybe the kids forget that aspect, that you've been around watching so many races. You can pick when they're not carrying their corner speed or anything. Like, you have that experience. If they come around
one lap and then they come around again, I'm like, why'd you slow down that lap? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I said, your entire body changed. Your elbows went down. You were sitting down the whole time. You were slouched over. It was, it's all the little things that I feel like they don't know that are so easily, well, I won't say easily, they're so recognizable to people,
the people that take so much interest. And I think that's what's cool. You're not just showing up at the track and just, sitting over there in the corner. You're actually watching the kids, what they can do to get better. And it just shows. And
I've been by Megan at the racetrack. This isn't, we're just sitting here as a fan. Like, we're going to critique them as they come around. So, Brian, I'm going to give you the last question, but I'm going to throw one question in before that's not on here. Megan, who is more critical of the kids riding? And when I say critical, I don't mean in a bad way. You or Andrew?
I've been told myself.
By who?
Everybody.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure it wasn't just Andrew and it wasn't a biased answer. Okay.
But I think that's it. Once we keep going back to that passion.
So would you say...
That's just, again, that I would say that when you know that your kids want something and you know what they're capable of doing and you don't see them doing what they're capable of doing, I have no problem letting them know that.
Yeah, and that's the difference of what you guys are. It's not like all week they're saying, well, I don't really want to ride. And you're like, no, you're going to ride and you're going to go win this race. They're talking about it all week long, how they want to win, what they want to do. So you're just there reinforcing what they talk about.
Rode well at the GNCC, and he's already saying that at the next GNCA he got 14th overall out of, I think it was like 160 kids that day.
As a 12-year-old.
As the very first time on his Super Mini, and he's already saying, I know what I did wrong, and I want to do better on the next one. So it's
he can definitely be top 10, and probably before the season, I mean, maybe crack that top 5.
Yeah, he's still new to the GNCCs too, which is a unique style of racing. All right, so last question here for you. And this
Megan, we've made it over an hour already, and you thought this was going to be over with like this. No, I told you this could go a while.
Yeah, so maybe this is just for my benefit too, because I've always looked up to you and Andrew, and always appreciate the advice that you guys do with racing and everything that I see. But any advice out there to kind of moms and dads, maybe they're just getting into the sport, or those that have been in it a while? You obviously have a lot of kids racing. You've been around it for a while. So what are some of the key advice?
I think it's just listening to your kids. I really think, figuring out what they want and how. Once you figure out what they want, it's easier to figure out how you push them, and ultimately just be their number one supporter. Because at the end of the day, if they did great or they did really bad, they still need someone patting them on the back and telling them to either that they did really great or try harder next time, or they'll do better next time, or, you know, just be their supporter. That's Austin wrote me the sweetest kid. I mean, that I have always been his number one supporter, and I hope that he will always take my criticism as, you know, that I just want the best for him. And as any parent, we only do want the best for our kids. So just push how you know that you need to push for your own kid. Be there for him.
And I think, you know, just seeing that this weekend, obviously you're, you know, doing that pushing in the right way, because you're not having to push any of them to ride. Everyone is just, we're trying to like
No,
get
they're-
off the
but
bike.
they
They're
rode, like,
stealing
just loving it.
bikes and trading
Sun up
off
to sun
bikes,
down.
and it's nuts. All right, Brian, anything else from you?
No, I think that
Megan,
was it.
anything we missed?
I don't think so. It's
Megan,
been
just-
fun. It's been fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. So, those of you watching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please be sure, I'm going to acknowledge the camera now to give us a big thumbs. Oh, is that one dead? I'm sorry. Give us a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing, because if you like motorcycles, this is the place to be. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating. If you're going to give us anything less than that, just don't rate us at all. We don't want that.
We don't need negative
No, exactly.
in our lives.
If you have any questions today and you're watching on YouTube, go down and comment in the YouTube comment section. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, head over to the Two Wheeled Rider Facebook page. Megan and the Tsakanikas family racing, we're going to link their social media things down below. And I think that's it, man. So hope you guys enjoyed listening to us. As always, I am your host, Mario Orsini, joined by my co-host,
Brian Boyer.
and we'll talk to you guys again soon.